Hey, Doug DeBruin, next mortgage. So here we go. Here's my 2024 interest rate and real estate forecast based on the information we have, what we expect to have happen, and just the way the market is working. So let's dive into it. So the big driver on interest rates is going to be inflation and the Fed. We've had very high inflation lately, and that's led to high interest rates as we saw towards the end of last year. No matter what anyone tells you, inflation is the driver of mortgage rates. If there is inflation or perceived inflation on the horizon, interest rates are going to rise in response to that. If there's low inflation or lower inflation seen on the horizon, then rates are going to come down in response to that. So right now we are in a drop of inflation, basically, and we've seen that already from the rates coming down from their peak of last year. The Fed has basically set a target of 2% year over year increase on core PCE. Currently, we're at 3.16. Later in January, January 26th, we're going to get the release for December's PCE. We're expecting an increase of 0.1%, which is great. We're expecting the same number probably for release in January and in February. So each month, what happens for the year over year is they take the current month, they throw out the month a year past, and then they re-average it. So the number that's zero point 0.1 is replacing is 0.39. So we should see a drop in core PCE year over year, somewhere into the high twos. It's going to be just a few days ahead of the Fed meeting on January 31st. They probably will not do anything in response to that other than say they're going to stay the course and see what happens. They're going to continue to monitor the situation. The January number should drop quite a bit again prior to their March 20th meeting, and we could see a rate cut as early as March 20th. More than likely, the May 1st meeting will definitely have a rate cut because we'll have February and March's numbers, which should still be low and be replacing higher numbers from a year ago. So we should be right into that 2% target by March or April and May. So I think May 1st for sure we'll see a rate cut, possibly on June, and probably for sure on July 31st. And the market has priced this in a little bit. So you can see right now, nearly a 70% chance for the March 20th to have a rate cut, and then 100% on every other meeting. So what does that mean? That means rates are going to come down. How much? It depends on how fast or how the economy responds as a whole. If we do enter a recession, we could see rates come down a little further. There is one other thing that's been driving interest rates, and that's the Fed's balance sheet. During COVID, and that time period, they were buying like crazy. So basically, supply and demand. If there is a ton of buyers out there, the price is going to rise. A higher price on mortgage-backed securities or treasuries means a lower yield, lower interest rates. And we saw that during COVID. Since their height of owning money, basically, they've been selling. They've been a seller onto the market. So that's been flooding the market with supply. If you have a big supply, prices decrease and yields rise. So prices decrease, interest rates rise. So that has not helped our situation either. You can see from this chart, the peak balance sheet of April of 2022, 33% of the balance sheet versus GDP. And the Fed, they've been selling like crazy since then, so rates have been high. We should see a tapering of that probably towards the second half of the year. So that's going to help too, because there's not going to be as much money supply, and that's going to lead to higher prices and lower yields, which equals lower interest rates. So definitely June, July, August, September, October. And then the overall economy, if we do enter a recession, rates always drop during a recession. Every time there's a recession, interest rates drop. So we could have kind of a triple acting trifecta on decrease in mortgage rates. So I would say probably low fives to high sixes. I think we're already in the high six range, and it should keep dropping the next 60 to 90 days. And it seems like under 6%, then that's when people with the 2% to 3% rates will tend to go ahead and sell their house and move up or right size or, move and get a different house. I noticed there was a period last year where rates did touch just under 6%. And at that time, phone really started ringing. Once they went back up above 6%, it was pretty much crickets. So 6% seems to be the magic number. And I would say we'll probably be below 6 sometime in February to maybe early March, and then continuing to decrease from there throughout the year. As far as real estate, inventory is everything, right? Supply and demand. We have a very low inventory still. And that's because everyone, 68, 70% of people have rates that start with a 4 or less. So with low inventory, you're still going to have appreciation. You're still going to have higher prices. However, with the high rates, that's kept buyers, on the sideline. So it's been a little trickier for sellers to get their places sold, which is why we've seen 2-1 buy downs. We've seen sellers contributing towards closing costs to make it a little easier for the buyers to get into those houses. I think as rates drop, we'll start to see those kind of programs go away, and it'll start turning into more of a seller's market again, where we could start seeing bidding wars, especially if rates drop below 6, and especially if they drop to 5.5 or below. One thing on housing, though, housing formations is still pretty high right now, and housing creations are low. You can see the blue is the household formations, and the yellow orangish line is the completions of new housing. So I still think there's going to be pent up demand, pretty high demand for houses out there. And the media loves to talk about how with the higher rates, affordability is horrible. Like they equate the increase in percentage of what the mortgage payment does to, like, you got to make that much more in income. So I just took a $300,000 loan at 2.875 back in 2021, principal and interest at $1,244 a month. To qualify for that, you need about a $4,000 income. Now, with the increase, in values since 2021, that loan is now $345 at 6.625. That's $2,209 for principal and interest, and you're going to need about a $4,700 a month income to qualify for that. So while the payment has gone up 80%, which is no joke, the income needed to qualify only needed to increase by 20%. The media loves to do like an apples to apples comparison, but it's not. Like if the house payment goes up by 80%, you do not need 8% more income to qualify. And I think that's a big thing the media loves to drive, to like scare people and keep them out of the market, just to drive eyeballs to their site. You really need about a 20% increase in income to afford that same house. Now, since 2021, incomes have only risen by 15%. So there is a delta in there. Not going to lie, it is less affordable. But as you see rates come down to probably below 6, I'd say that increase is going to be right around 15%, and it's going to keep pace with the income increase since 2021. So I see huge opportunity for 2024. I think 2024 is going to be an exceptional year for home purchases, and potentially for refinances too. Like if you bought your house in 2023, definitely during 24, you can refinance pretty much every one of those loans and get them more reasonable and save some people some money. So nationwide appreciation price still 4.5 to 5%, which is right in line with historical estimates. And I think some areas, especially us in the Seattle area, are going to see 10% plus again. I think we're going to be back to bidding wars, and I think it's going to be imperative that you're qualified and that you're willing to potentially pay a little over ask and have that discussion and work with someone who can cost that out and put it in black and white, and so your buyers can see that. And I think transaction volume up 15 to 20%, which we can all use. So have a great day. Hopefully you got some value out of this. If you have any questions, please just shoot me a text or an email, and you can pick up the phone, give me a call, and let's work on something together to get more people to buy homes in 2024. I think it's going to be a great year. Thanks.